Mexico is now pouring resources, like the National Guard and Mexican Army, in to help patrol and detain migrants like these, eventually transporting them to southern Mexico.
Where we separate them by nationalities, and then from them we determine the deportation process.
Evidence of a smuggler's desperate attempt to salvage their profits.
There are dozens, if not hundreds of these.
And while it slows them down momentarily, for now they forge ahead in their efforts to curb the flow of a migrant crisis that's consuming resources on both sides of the border.
The U.S.-Mexico border crisis has been a very controversial issue for many years now. It has caused a lot of division, with many government officials having differing ideas about how to handle the situation. It doesn't seem as if a resolution is coming any soon. In fact, if anything, things might soon be reaching a boiling point. There has been an influx of very concerning videos and images being released from the US-Mexico border. These images have caused quite a stir, and many believe that they suggest rising levels of tension between Texas officials and the Biden administration about how illegal immigration should best be handled. But not everything is how it seems, and some of these viral videos don't always tell the whole story. It is important to take a critical look at what the videos really show and what the full context is. So let's take a look at what's been going on and what it might mean for the future of the US-Mexico border. The first topic of concern that we'll take a look at is the increased military presence at the border that has been seen in some pictures and videos circulating on social media.
This morning, there are questions about plans to send military vehicles to the border. A planning document obtained by the Texas Tribune and the Army Times says the National Guard will deploy armored personnel carriers along the border due to the number of encounters with migrants. No comment from Governor Abbott on the report.
Check out this footage that has been circulating the internet. This footage, and footage like it, has gone viral on both TikTok and X, with many speculating about what it could mean. It seems to show a large amount of tanks and other military vehicles traveling to and stationed at the border. One of these viral videos also came with a claim that there were even more tanks currently on the way to the Texas border to fight the ongoing problem with illegal invasion. It's no surprise that these kinds of videos would cause quite a stir, but it is important to remember anyone can go on TikTok and post a video they got from anywhere or at any time, and put a caption along with it that spins a false narrative about what's really going on. That's why it is so important to fact-check these kinds of things before they get out of control. With these videos of the military vehicles, it was later confirmed that the terrain seen in the video could not have even been from South Texas due to the fact that there are pine trees, which is not common for that kind of terrain. Also, if you take an extra zoomed in look at some of the vehicles shown in these videos, you'll notice that they have Georgia license plates, not Texas. The Texas National Guard has tried to put rumors to rest by confirming that they don't have plans to send military tanks to the border, but that doesn't mean that there aren't still some groups that think that a greater military presence is needed there. Check out this video of a far-right Texas group that recently traveled to the border to protest against immigration, with vehicles adorned with both Trump 2024 and anti-immigration flags. This group made their intentions very clear. This was a peaceful protest composed of several hundred people.
A small but fervent group of people rallied to take the border back in South Texas.
I think we all as a nation want this to end, both Democrats and Republicans.
There were also supposedly some people from opposing viewpoints who came to show their opposition to the protest, causing some tension. The video only captured a glimpse of the reactions from some migrants that were waiting by the border in hopes of crossing at the time that the protest was going on. We can only speculate about what they were thinking by seeing this kind of display, but they appeared to be confused, bewildered, and a little shocked. There seems to be two primary opinions here about this sort of protest. On one hand, some people do agree with these protesters' desire for stricter immigration policies in order to protect the security of the United States. But at the same time, there are also other people who believe that big protests like this just cause further division and further marginalize an entire group of people. We know that despite the many challenges they will likely have to face along the way, there are still many people who are bound and determined to cross the border in hope of a better life. There are people crossing every day, and immigration does not seem to be slowing down anytime soon. While many want to follow the rules and cross the border legally, they say that the amount of hoops that they need to jump through to do it is making it next to impossible. Check out this clip that captures pleas from a Venezuelan migrant named Camila Cruz. She says that the Customs and Border Protection app that is needed to start the immigration process doesn't work. Due to not being able to cross over the border easily, many are taking other routes. As this footage shows, they are doing everything from cutting down fences to trying to cross in mass groups so that they will overwhelm the patrol that is trying to monitor the border. The amount of dangerous illegal substances that are being trafficked over the border remains one of the biggest concerns about this whole issue for both Mexico and the United States, as well as for people on both sides of the immigration issue. Meanwhile, in order to try to curb the amount of people that are illegally crossing over the border, Mexican authorities are now taking things into their own hands by stationing themselves in areas along the border where people are known to try to pass through, such as gaps in the wall.
You can see behind me here, there's a huge gap in the wall. And this is where Mexican officials tell us that a lot of the smugglers are either directing or bringing some of the migrants to so that they can easily cross.
Which makes these rugged back roads the preferred and profitable routes for cartel-backed migrant smugglers.
In this special report from CNN, reporters traveled to the border and spoke with some of the people who have been denied entrance into the United States by Mexico officials.
We pull up and find about a dozen folks who describe to me their attempts to claim asylum in the U.S.
He said he tried to cross, but Mexican officials stopped him from being able to go.
That's because Mexico is now stepping up its efforts to stop migrants from crossing illegally into the U.S.
Some believe that these officials are following a request that was given to them by the Biden administration.
Mexico is now pouring resources, like the National Guard and Mexican Army, in to help patrol and detain migrants like these, eventually transporting them to southern Mexico.
Where we separate them by nationalities, and then from them we determine the deportation process.
This is, of course, a stark difference in comparison to how this sort of situation may have been handled in the past.
What's happening here goes beyond stepped-up patrols. In recent months, Mexican officials have built base camps, deploying troops to some of the most popular illegal crossing sites.
A smuggler's van. Are there several of these vehicles just left abandoned
Like 7 vehicles in total
in this area?
in the area.
As we pull up, we realize we've been here before.
We've seen so many people cross through this property. This right here.
It was just about a year ago since CNN reporters traveled to this same specific spot. They spoke with U.S. residents who were upset about how many migrants were coming into the country by crossing over their private property.
They can come through the front door.
Our cameras captured hundreds each day and night.
That has stopped in recent weeks, and it stopped primarily because of what we're seeing on the Mexico side of things. This is a remote base on the border. You've got Mexican immigration officials, you've got National Guard, and you've got Mexican Army who are here 24/7.
These Mexico officials are literally living on the border and are fully equipped to stay as long as they have to.
Moved resources to live 24/7 on the border. Why is it so important for Mexico to be doing that?
We want to prevent migrants to get in touch with the criminal groups.
The number of migrant encounters reported by U.S. Border Patrol appears to reflect the impact of Mexico's actions, dropping 42% from December to January alone and seeming to stay low.
But are these numbers actually accurate? And will these extra efforts actually decrease the amount of illegal substances being trafficked into the United States? Some reports are saying that the answer could be probably not.
But officials warn cartels and their smugglers frequently adjust their tactics and keep close watch.
They're watching us right now.
They see when we are patrolling and when we leave a spot.
It's a crisis that has also sparked uneasiness for Mexican residents.
It's gotten so frustrating for these folks in particular that the community got together, wrote a letter to their governor petitioning for more resources.
Because of these complaints, there are now even more Mexican Border Patrol agents who are walking around, paroling local neighborhoods in an attempt to put a stop to all the migrants coming through.
Authorities here urge migrants to use the U.S.'s CBP-1 app rather than to risk crossing with smugglers. Mexican officials at this location even help pre-screen up to 500 migrants daily for the U.S. asylum interview process.
So he's in communication with U.S. officials, por otro lado, and on the other side, and they're sending documents back and forth to make sure that they have the right information.
While this whole system was created to help make the process of applying for asylum in the United States easier, a lot of hopeful migrants are saying that it can take a very long time to even get an appointment to speak with someone.
Marta Achila says she's waited 5 months for this day.
Pero no quisieron usar un coyote para cruzar directamente. Y quieren trabajar legalmente allá en los Estados Unidos. So I asked why they didn't go through the smuggling route, which so many choose to do. Vamos a caminar con ustedes. And she said that, for one, it cost an extreme amount of money. And the other aspect of it for her was they wanted to be able to enter legally through the appointment.
There are a lot of people who don't want to have to try to cross the border illegally. They would much rather do it the right way so that they can get a good start to beginning their life in a new country. Unfortunately, when the process to do things legally isn't available to them or doesn't work, many feel as if they are left with little choice.
The road ahead is uncertain for both the migrants and for those protecting the border. We see that firsthand as we leave the remote border camps.
The reason we stopped and pulled over is because there are these spikes that we've noticed all along the different dirt roadways that take us to the border wall.
These smugglers are not going to go down without a fight. They are simply going to change their tactics.
Evidence of a smuggler's desperate attempt to salvage their profits.
There are dozens, if not hundreds of these.
And while it slows them down momentarily, for now they forge ahead in their efforts to curb the flow of a migrant crisis that's consuming resources on both sides of the border.
So is there an answer for this ongoing problem? And if so, what is it?
As we saw in the story, Mexican officials are expanding efforts to stem the flow of migrants into the U.S. We're seeing some effect in the numbers there, as you noted. How could U.S. politics derail those efforts, though?
I think, Jim, the biggest threat to this bolstered support, which is, as you're seeing, actually helping lower the numbers of migrants crossing illegally into the U.S., comes at the shifting of policies, and that's policies on immigration.
Those policies on immigration will have to occur on both the federal and state level if we hope to see real change come about.
So Mexico gets increasingly frustrated when they see policies come out of states like Texas or Iowa, and for them, that adds domestic pressures that during an election year, not only in the U.S., but also in Mexico, could cause them to have to then redirect those efforts, so to speak. And
if that's the case, they will reallocate their resources. But of course, if they start to feel that the burden is coming down too heavily on Mexico, it will only make sense for them to stop with this extra effort and send military personnel to serve elsewhere. In the meantime, there are new reports that are coming out just about every day that even the border agents are afraid to tell the public the truth about what has been really going on involving the cartel's presence at the U.S. border.
Some shocking and exclusive news coming out of News Nation's special border report last night. A Border Patrol agent telling us they believe the cartels are fully in control of the southern border.
In this special news report, the interview that is being conducted is done anonymously in order to protect the safety of the border officer, who believes his own life would be in danger if he was identified as a whistleblower in connection to this crisis. He wore a hood with his face not visible, and even his voice was digitally altered in order to protect his identity. It has long been a fear that the cartels are overpowering border agents, but the fact that the truth has been confirmed and the reality of the situation has been exposed, it is nearly unbelievable how things have gotten this serious.
What do you believe is one of the things that everyday ordinary Americans don't understand about the southern border?
The biggest thing is that we do not control the border. The cartel controls the border. Usually we're chasing around pawns while the kings and queens are doing whatever they want.
Now, Border Patrol is saying that they're always in kind of a reactionary standpoint down here, saying the cartel's always 1, 2, maybe even 5 steps ahead of them, usually.
How are cartel leaders managing to say so? Ahead of law enforcement? Well, for one thing, They have been doing it for a long time, and they never let their guard down.
They're always watching what's happening over on this side. They have scouts that are over on the U.S. side as well. So when it comes to protecting America, while this agent said that they would sign up for this job all over again, knowing what they know now, they say that Americans need to protect themselves because no one is coming.
This is a pretty concerning message, coming from the people whose job is to protect the security of the country from illegal invasion. But why is it that we're just now starting to hear about this issue now? And why haven't more people spoken out?
The media is only reporting what they can report on, right? Which is, statistically speaking, a small percentage of the actual bad guys that we're catching. Who's getting through? The really good ones, we will never catch.
This is a pretty disheartening message from a Border Patrol agent who seems to be very fed up with this ongoing situation.
You can't pay attention to the matches that are walking through the border when all you can see is the little bonfire. Our border is by no means secure.
Now that agent saying that they can't focus on the matches, what they mean by that here, Alex, is the people who are trying to evade, trying to slip through and not get caught by Border Patrol.
These matches, as the Border Patrol member referred to them as, are the people who slip by so quickly that they aren't even noticed. They may be climbing fences and being picked up by a vehicle waiting on the other side. Then, just like that, they are gone and impossible to track. With there being so many people crossing over illegally with these dangerous substances, patrol agents obviously have to pick and choose their battles by choosing to go after the ones who they believe are truly going to infiltrate the community and put people's lives at risk.
That's what they go after here. They're trying to get the smuggler so that they can arrest that smuggler and kind of cut him off at their knees. And they're also trying to kind of rescue those migrants in a sense. Yes, they get turned over to Border Patrol, but these pursuits and these scenarios are very dangerous. And it's very hot out here as well, Alex. So right now is a time when a lot of migrants lose their lives just trying to get into the U.S.
During this special report, reports interviewed other Border Patrol agents that said that they wish they could talk more about what has really been going on, because they believe that the U.S. people deserve to know the truth. Nevertheless, they know the danger that they would be putting themselves in if they did. There would definitely be an investigation done on a federal level, and they could face serious repercussions. Another group of people that has been affected by the border crisis in a very personal way are Texas ranchers, some of whom say their land is currently at the mercy of the cartel.
Can you imagine actually being told that you have two choices? Stand your ground or go inside your home, hunker down, lock your doors and close your windows and turn off all the lights. Well, that is what these Texas ranchers are facing almost on a daily basis.
These are people who are just trying to live their lives and provide for their families. But it is hard to do that when they've got to worry about their own safety on a daily basis.
A daunting task Debbie Douglas never expected to be part of her daily life.
You see, it takes a while.
Rolling up steel shutters, reinforcing windows throughout her Edwards County ranch home.
This is the window that they attempted to break in. This is my granddaughter's room. She does not want these steel shutters rolled up. She wants them down. This is her sense of security now.
And when you see this next clip, you'll understand exactly why.
A child in fear after alleged undocumented individuals attempted to break into the home that sits on the hunting ranch where Debbie spends half of her time. Captured here in video first seen on News Nation.
Then we added these screens. They're steel screens, they're not your regular screens.
What was once her safe, happy place,
this whole area is their playground.
Can you imagine working hard your entire life to be able to afford the home of your dreams, only to not even be able to enjoy it because you have strangers running rampant on it? Strangers that are certainly armed and dangerous. That is Debbie's everyday dilemma.
They basically own it. It's sad.
Has now become a fortress of sorts.
It's sickening because we have put in so much to this place. Blood, sweat, and tears. And for it to be destroyed by some criminal organization and drug cartel is heartbreaking.
Texas has a law called Stand Your Ground, which is supposed to give a homeowner the right to defend themselves and their property. But there has been a recent controversial case involving an Arizona ranch owner that gives Debbie a reason to fear that her rights might not be honored if she ever has to use them. That's the case of 75-year-old George Allen Kelly, who is currently facing second-degree murder charges after he killed a migrant who entered his property not far from the border. When he went to trial for his charges last year, the jury could not make a decision about whether his actions were justified, and it ended in a mistrial. Debbie says that despite this, she knows what her rights are, and she isn't afraid to use them if she finds herself in a situation where she doesn't have a choice but to take extreme measures to protect her own life.
I will shoot. I don't want to. I don't want to kill anybody, but if they come toward me, if it's me or them, I'm shooting.
Less than 40% of land along the southern border is privately owned, which includes the Connolly Ranch in Kinney County, just south of Debbie's ranch.
Like Debbie, Lisa Connolly feels like she is being held captive by the cartel. She owns a generational cattle ranch that has been in her family since 1907.
I'm an American citizen. Where are my rights to be safe in my own home?
Stan always worked the ranch, but since his cancer diagnosis, it has been all hands on deck for the family. And with the stress of safety, Lisa says she feels she's being held captive by the cartel.
I'd like for you to stay in your homes, lock your doors, and at night they say don't attract attention by turning out some of those lights.
It certainly seems unfair that anyone should have to go through life this way. But at least until the situation at the border gets back under control, there seems to be no question that she'll have to. Who do you believe is to be blamed for the ongoing border crisis? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.